my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Mackenzie and I love all things Disney and makeup, and today I decided to combine the two and this is what happened. So I love Disney characters and I think the idea of creating makeup looks based off of them is so cool. I know there's tons of different makeup tutorials on Ursula, so I decided to do something a little bit different and create what I think Ursula would have looked like if she was like a person or still a villain in the 1920s. So I took a 1920s flapper and then also took all like the characteristics and kind of like some of the makeup ideas of Ursula, including the nails. This is definitely Ursula's nails. And I decided to combine them and create this makeup look. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I had a lot of fun creating it, combining two things that I love. And yeah, let's get started with the makeup tutorial. If there was one thing I learned in my time at Disney, it was how to properly apply a wig cap. So I'm going to show you guys today. So there's two different ends. Put it over your head and make sure the thicker side is going to be the one closest to the top of your forehead. That way it won't slip around. And then you take this thinner side and tuck all of your hair into it. Make sure there's no stray hairs. Once all your hair is tucked in, then you're going to wrap it around and also stick it in with a bobby pin just to hold it in place. And also apply bobby pins to the sides to make sure everything is held in place. Next, I'm going to attempt to cover my brows, so you're going to use a clear glue stick and also a spoolie. So first, you go in with the clear glue stick and just go to town on your brows. Make sure they're all nice and lathered up, and this is going to help stick them down. Once the glue is starting to set, you're going to take your spoolie and brush your hairs in the direction that they naturally grow in, which is actually straight up, even though they seem to go sideways. This way they will help lay them down flat so that when you cover them later with foundation, they won't be sticking through. And you're also going to go through once they are dry and just set them with a setting powder just to help make them all smooth. And I also go in with a damp washcloth and clean up all extra texture because you don't want that on your face. Then I'm taking my foundation. I'm using a very lightweight foundation that's full coverage, and I'm going to just apply that to my face. So I want to make myself look as pale as possible. I know people in the 1920s were a little bit more fair, and so is Ursula. Sometimes I don't want to take a white pigment because that can be a little bit too intense. So just taking any sort of pigment or foundation that's a couple shades lighter than yours will still do this effect of making you look fair without actually looking super intense and dramatic as if you were to use a straight white pigment. I'm going to blend this out over my face, make sure it's super blended, and even down my neck as well, just so it fades nicely and there's no harsh lines. My brows are still a little bit too cool toned, so I'm going to color correct by using a salmon color. If you have anything blue or cool toned, the best way to cancel that color is by putting a color on the opposite of the color wheel spectrum, which would be any sort of yellow or even orangey. That will help cancel out any sort of like dark cool colors. Next, I'm going to highlight my face a little bit. I'm not going to go too crazy on the contouring, but I will just lighten up my face. So I'm taking this white pigment here, and I'm using that almost as a concealer, just to help lighten up my face and give it a little bit more structure. I'm going to set all that with a translucent setting powder. I'm going to really make sure that this is nice and set. That way it won't budge and it won't move, and you won't get any creasing. I'll even set my neck area too, since we did put some liquid foundation coverage down there as well. Moving on to contouring, while some of that powder is still baking, I'm going to lightly apply a contour shade around my cheekbones. I'm not going to go crazy with the contouring. I feel like people in the 20s weren't very contoured, but I do want to give my face some depth and dimension. With the blush, I'm going to take that on the apples of my cheeks here, and I'm concentrating that color on the apples of my cheeks again to give myself a fuller face, because I feel like that's typically how the makeup was back in the 20s. For my eyes, I'm just starting off with a light mauve color just to kind of put that down as a base shadow before I put on any of the crazy colors I'm going to go into next. Then I'm taking a light blue shade, and I'm going to really concentrate that in the inner and outer corners of my eye. I'm doing more of a dome-shaped eye look today. I feel like in the 20s, people focused a lot on big eyes, and this will really give that illusion. So I'm going to deepen up my eye socket by using these blue colors. First going in with the blue color in the inner and outer corners, and then when there's less pigment on my brush, I'm going to blend that out as you see now. With a smaller brush, I'm going to be concentrating some of that darker blue pigment that you see me putting on right now on the inner and outer corners of my eye. I really want this eye look to pop, and that's why I'm concentrating so much of the color on the inner and outer corners. And then when there's less product on the brush, that's when I will go and blend it out. It wasn't blending as easy as I'd hoped, so I'm taking some of that darker blue shadow on this thin blending brush and focusing that more on the inner and outer corners, just to help it blend a little bit easier. If you're ever having a hard time having colors blend, you can put some of the pigment on the brush you're using to blend it out with to help it blend a little bit more smoothly. Somehow forgot to mention until now that the reason I'm using blue eyeshadow in the first place is because Ursula has a blue-purple eyeshadow similar to this in the movie. Then I'm taking just a clean, fluffy brush just to help blend that out a little bit so I have no harsh edges. I'm going to still continue to deepen up that crease, so I'm now taking a purple pigment on that small pointer brush just to really help make that eye look dark and have some depth and dimension. I'm also going underneath my eye with some of that purple pigment, but I will be going over it later with a different color. I just wanted to add some color so that it looked more blended together. Once you're done with the eyeshadow, you can whisk away all of that extra powder. That will catch any fallout as well, so that way you don't have any blue underneath your eyes. I wanted to glam up the eyeshadow look a little bit more, so to add some more depth, I'm adding some sparkle onto the inner corner of my lid. I'm concentrating a lot of this color on the inner part of my eye just to really add that highlight and make it pop. And then when there's less product on the brush, and even with my finger, I'll start to blend that out so it blends in smoothly with all the blue pigment that we already have. I'll even use a fluffy brush, as you see I'm doing here, just to help smooth those edges so that it's not a stark contrast between where there's glitter and where there's not. I wasn't too crazy about the purple underneath my eye, so I decided to go back in with a blue-green color that kind of reminded me of the ocean, and I'm putting that underneath my eye. I feel like a lot of the makeup looks of the 20s focused on having big eyes and a round face, so that's why I decided to go with this kind of more domed eye look, and I'm dragging that underneath my eye too, just to make my eyes look really big and very doe-eyed. Moving on to the lips. So I feel like a lot of the lip trends from the 20s, they had a little bit smaller lips, but they also had more of like a heart shape to them. So I'm concentrating on that. I'm making my lips a little bit smaller than I usually do. And I'm also going to really define my upper lip and make it into more of a heart shape. And I'll go back in and fill in my lips a little bit just so there's a nice base for the lipstick to adhere to. In a lot of the pictures I see, Ursula tends to have more red lips, but today I'm using a berry color. You can use any sort of dark color. I feel like people in the 20s also used darker rougey lipsticks, so this fits with both of our themes.
I want to be loved by you, just you and nobody else but you. I want to be loved by you alone.
Moving on to the brows. So I didn't do the best job covering up my brows, but hey, it was my first shot at it. I think I did a pretty okay job. I'm going to cover them with a darker pigment. So part of the reason why I wanted to cover my brows in the first place is because people from the 20s didn't have as defined brows. They had a little bit more thinner brows, and they were very rounded. I feel like this helped with the big eye look. By rounding out the brows, it does give your eyes a more doe-eyed effect. So as you can see with my brows today, I'm not drawing them on as thick as I typically do, and I'm keeping them pretty straight until I get to the ends, and that's when I'm going to start rounding down the brow, just to kind of over-exaggerate my eye shape. I'm also using lashes for this look that'll help make my eyes look bigger. They're thinner on the inner and outer corners and thicker in the middle to help give your eye that kind of rounded shape. So I'm applying some lash glue right to the lash band, and I'm going to dry it off a little bit before I apply it to my eyes. I'm also using tweezers too. It helps with making sure that I put it on precisely where I need to go right against my lash line. I'm squeezing the lashes against my lash line just to make sure that they adhere. This will also help hold them on longer too. Once that lash glue has dried and your lashes are properly adhered to your normal lashes, you're good to go. I am going to apply a little bit of mascara to my bottom lashes too, just so it completes the eye look. Now I started to feel like this look wasn't complete and there was something missing, and then I finally realized I was missing Ursula's beauty mark. So I'm going to put that on too. I'm just taking a plain black creamy eyeliner and just using a tiny amount of that, just apply a little dot right where Ursula's beauty mark is. Now that the makeup's done, I'm going to show you guys how to put on the wig. Taking the back here, I'm just going to slip that right over my head, making sure the back lines up with the back of my neck. It's a little bit crazy at first, but don't worry, we'll settle it down. There are little tabs too. I'm just adjusting my wig to make sure it fits on my head where I want to. I'm pulling the wig down by the tabs, not by the actual hair itself. You're also going to want to bobby pin in those tabs by your ears so that way your wig doesn't slip back and show your natural hair color. Now that my wig is adjusted to my liking, I'm going to go ahead and lightly place over my flapper headband too. I chose this green color. It reminded me a lot of Ariel's tail, and I thought it'd be kind of symbolic of all those poor unfortunate souls that Ursula took care of. I wasn't too crazy about my nails, so I decided to add some fiery red claws, just like Ursula has, to add a little bit more villainous touch to this look. And of course, this look isn't complete unless you have a shell to trap the voices of any mermaids you may run into. I decided to add a pink feather boa as well. I feel like Ursula would have had one of those since she does have a lot of pink seaweed growing in her cave. And that is a wrap for this video. So thank you guys again so much for watching this tutorial. I had a lot of fun creating it. I thought it was kind of fun to throw in two different ideas, such as a Disney character and a timepiece, and just kind of seeing what happened. So I had a lot of fun with it. I hope you guys did too. If you liked it a lot, please give it a big thumbs up below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be seeing you in my next video. Bye! Oh, these nails. These nails are my life. I don't know. I feel like this is the look of Yzma and Ursula just combined with a tiny bit of Cruella de Vil. Just the smallest hint. Like this is like all of them.